Very good afternoon one more time to everyone. And today we are going to discuss cognitive behavior therapy and rational emotive behavior therapy. These are two evidence-based therapies that we have today. And I'm thankful to all of you for this interest in CBT and REBT. Right? What exactly is cognitive behavior therapy or CBT or CBTs? In fact, cognitive behavior therapies are a broad umbrella term. It's a broad umbrella term. It's not single therapy, and it's not CBT, but CBTs. That includes various therapies such as rational emotive behavior therapy, which is the most original form of cognitive behavior therapy. This was conceptualized by Albert Ellis in 1954 as rational therapy, and then he changed it to rational emotive therapy, then changed it to rational emotive behavior therapy. And 1 decade later, Aaron Beck conceptualized cognitive therapy for depression at that time. However, the Beck Institute conducted a lot of research, and CBT, as they call it, but it's a misnomer. In fact, what the Beck Institute calls CBT is technically cognitive therapy, and CBT is a broad umbrella term that includes CT as well. But a lot of people now interchangeably use this term of cognitive behavior therapy for cognitive therapy. And that's probably what we're going to use it today as well. Then there are other forms of cognitive behavior therapy like behavior therapy, DBT, mindfulness, and CBT, then metacognitive therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy. They all have one common theme that we're going to discuss. However, when someone says that I practice CBT, the most accurate question would be, what form of CBT? What kind of CBT do you practice? And the answer would be Beck's cognitive therapy or rational emotive behavior therapy by Ellis, or Marshall enhanced dialectical behavior therapy, and so on. They all have a common theme. So the basic assumption of behavior therapy and rational emotive behavior therapy is that cognition influences emotion, or cognition, the way you think, is the primary and proximal determinant of emotion. So it is the most important determinant of emotion. So when we have emotions, when we have positive, negative feelings, or whatever emotions we have, cognition is the most important and proximal determinant of emotion. This is the basic assumption of all the cognitive behavior therapies. What we're trying to say is that it's a proximal, means it comes first. After the event, cognition comes first. And this is a proximal determinant of emotion. And most important, however, not the only one determinant of emotion, which also means events contribute to emotions. Your neurobiology contributes to emotions. Your, physical state contributes to emotions. So there are quite a few biological factors, environmental factors that contribute to emotion. However, none of them causes them. So an emotion is not caused by any of these factors, but it is determined mostly by cognition. And this is very important for us to understand that if you want to modify an emotion, if you want to change an emotion, then what should we target? It's cognition first, because that's very we can modify that, right? I would quickly want to take a poll. Just give me a thumbs up if I'm clearly audible and visible. You could simply switch on your camera or send an emotion of thumbs up if you can see me and hear me clearly. And if not, then let me know in the chat box so that I can do something about this. Somebody said my voice is not clear. I hope it is clear now. So let's talk. Am I not audible? Ronak, am I clearly audible and visible?
Yes, you're audible and visible as well.
All right. Okay. Now let's talk about Beck's cognitive therapy. It's a focused form of psychotherapy. It's not just simply counseling, but focused form of psychotherapy based on a model stipulating that psychological disorders involve dysfunctional thinking. See, this is very important for you to understand that dysfunctional thinking does not cause a psychological disorder, right? There are various different reasons for a psychological disorder or factors contributing to a psychological disorder. However, whenever there is a disorder, say for instance, somebody has depression or anxiety or OCD or a personality disorder or any mood disorder, say for instance, there will be psychological dysfunctional thinking. There will be dysfunctional thinking in this disorder. So reducing the dysfunctional thinking will reduce the symptoms of the disorder. So we are not saying that thinking only, if you fix thinking only, your depression would be cured, your anxiety would be cured. No, we are not saying that. We are saying that reducing dysfunctional thinking reduces the symptoms of the psychological disorder. And therefore, all cognitive behavior therapists, including CT therapists and rational motive behavior therapists, they do acknowledge the role of biology in the presentation of disorders. And therefore, we are pro medication. So if a medication needs to be given to patients, we do not say that, no, you only do CBT and it will cure your disorder. You don't need medication. Medication is bad. It's going to cause you side effects and it will only suppress the symptoms. No, we say that biological factors do play an important role. However, our focus is on modifying the cognitions. Slightly different is the rational emotive behavior therapy. And in rational emotive behavior therapy, it's a focus on psychotherapy. Again, it's a form of psychotherapy. It's slightly more philosophical on a model stipulating that psychological distress. We're not only talking about psychological disorders here, we're talking about psychological distress in general, is mediated by irrational beliefs. So not all cognition, we are not focusing on all types of cognition, but a very specific type of cognition, which is irrational beliefs. Now, cognition is the most important determinant of emotion, as we already said. But what kind of cognition? We talk about irrational beliefs in rational motive behavior therapy. Now, that is the basis of REBT, where we focus largely on irrational beliefs, a very, very specific form of cognition. We're going to talk a little more about irrational beliefs if we get time. However, this is just an orientation and present the models of CBT and REBT to you. Now, the important idea in cognitive behavior therapies is the thinking, feeling, behavior connection. Now, I want you to answer this question. How many of you agree that thinking causes feeling, feeling causes behavior, and behavior causes thinking again? Say, for instance, if I was to think that I am not a good trainer, then I would probably feel depressed. And if I feel depressed, I'm most likely to avoid a presentation, right? And if I avoid the presentation, my belief will get reinforced that I'm not a good trainer. So thinking causes feeling, feeling causes behavior, and behavior causes thinking. How many of you agree with this? I would like to hear something about this. Like, how many of you agree? And if someone does not agree, then why not? You could chat, you could type in the chat box. You don't have to. Oh, I am sorry. It's my fault. You guys cannot unmute yourself. Okay. How do I do this? I was thinking what's happening. Now, this is a very clear example of I am thinking that you guys are not interested. And then I felt slightly depressed. And then my behavior was to withdraw and probably go to the next slide. However, I started thinking differently. No, it's unlikely nobody would speak. So I checked my settings and I found that the participants cannot unmute themselves anymore. And this is why I changed the setting. Now I thought differently and I feel differently. Okay, so now few of you agree that this diagram is correct. Now, there is some problem with this diagram. Can someone tell me what was the problem with the diagram? Anyone can unmute themselves now. I have changed the settings. There was a problem with that diagram. What is that problem? Anyone? Thinking causes feeling, feeling causes behavior, and behavior causes feeling again. Can anyone tell me what was wrong with that diagram? Okay, so I'll not waste a lot of time like this. Thinking and feeling, feeling, behavior, thinking. And I use the word cause. Do not use the word cause. They influence each other. So thinking and feeling influence each other. Feelings and behavior influence each other. And behavior and thinking influence each other. So if someone presents with a behavioral problem, say for instance, they are smoking or they're drinking or they're aggressive, so then we might want to modify the rest of the two, which is thinking and feeling, and then their behavior would be modified. If someone comes with an emotional problem that they feel depressed or anxious, then we might want to change or modify the thinking and behavior so their feeling changes. So if someone comes with a thinking problem, that we might want to modify their behavior and feelings, and therefore the thinking would be modified. And that's the beauty of cognitive behavior therapies, is that if someone comes with one specific area that needs to be modified, and we modify the rest of the two, then their primary concern would be reduced, or they can be addressed. So quickly revising, we just discovered that thinking, feelings, behaviors don't cause each other. However, they interact with each other, they influence each other in a complex way. And this is after the event has happened. Like once the event has happened, this is the thinking, feeling, behavior cycle. There could be events that are in future, there could be events that are in past, there could be events that are happening right now, they could be internal or external, they could be real or imagined, but all kinds of events can trigger thinking, feeling, and behavior. So this is another major, I would say, concept in cognitive behavior therapies, is the thinking, feeling, behavior, TFB connection. You know, when you treat patients with CBT and REBT, you are largely educating them the connection between this thinking, feeling, and behavior, and also the connection between their problem, right? Okay, lesson wrong. I don't think behavior causes thinking. Exactly, behavior does not cause thinking, and even thinking does not cause behavior. How many times have you thought to yourself that I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow morning? Has it converted into a behavior? I'm going to be very, very hardworking from tomorrow and be a billionaire in a few days. Does it translate into behavior? No. I am not going to eat junk food from today onwards. Does it translate into behavior? No, it does not. I really wish it did, but wishful thinking, as we call it. Wishes are, if only wishes were horses. Your thinking does not get translated into your behavior. And the universe does not care about your thinking. Remember that, if you think positively and then you're going to attract positivity, that's not true. Thinking can influence your behavior, which can influence your environment. However, thinking, feeling, behavior, they all influence each other, not the environment cause. They do not change the environment unless you do something about it, right? Only behavior can change your environment. All right. Okay. So let's look at the basic assumptions of CBT and REBT. There are a few very important assumptions in CBT and REBT. The number one assumption is thoughts influence emotion. This is a basic assumption of CBT and REBT. Besides this, there are certain other, I would say, qualities of CBT and REBT, is that it is present focused. We do not dig into the past a lot. Unless you're an archaeologist, do not dig into the past a lot. However, we do not disregard the history as well. So we assume that the cognitions you learned in past events contribute to your current emotions, but don't cause them. So this also takes away the blame of events in past for your current emotional upset. We say that the current emotional upset is largely, if not entirely, because of your current cognitions, thinking that you learned during the past events. So in other words, it gives a sense of responsibility, emotional responsibility, to all the clients who receive CBT and REBT. There is another very important aspect of CBT and REBT, is it is active and directive. So the therapist takes a very active and directive role and directs the session, not only the session, but they also guide the goals in therapy. At the same time, there is collaboration between the therapist and client. So they both work in collaboration with each other. So the therapist, even when active and directive, does not force their own goals on the client, and the client contributes to the goal setting and also in the progress of therapy. It is time limited, does not go on for years and years. Both these therapies are time limited, generally 8 to 15 sessions. This is what is recommended for most problems. And it is goal oriented. So it's not insight oriented, which means, oh, this problem is because your mother treated you this way, and therefore you are depressed today, you have low confidence. No, we say that what are your goals in therapy? And then I'm going to help you achieve those goals. So it's more of problem and goal oriented rather than insight oriented. So there are other qualities, but I think these are CBT and REBT features, like it's present oriented, and then it is collaborative, it is time limited, does not go on for years and years. It's very structured. Now, I will be demonstrating the CBT and REBT sessions in a while from now, and you will see that there is a very clear structure to the whole therapy. To a person who is not very trained in CBT and REBT, it may look like a very casual conversation. However, to a trained mind, this looks clearly like a structured session. So, for instance, there is goal setting, there is assessment of ABC, and so on. It is problem focused, not insight focused. It's collaborative, not forced goals on the client, and it's educative. So you are going to teach them the thinking, feeling, behavior connection, and the connection with their existing problems in CBT and REBT. So now let's talk about the famous ABC model of cognitive behavioral therapies. In the ABC model, we say that the A stands in, let's talk about cognitive therapy, which is Beck's cognitive therapy. There is a situation that happens, which is the antecedent event. Let us say that you're walking down the street, or let's say a busy bridge, and then you see your friend coming from the other side, and then you wave at your friend. The friend does not wave back at you. So this is the event, antecedent event. You have automatic thoughts that the friend ignored me. So you probably go to the cleanest beach in Mumbai to think about this major problem, that the friend ignored me deliberately. They're probably going to block me. I'm going to feel lonely. I'll be all alone all my life, and so on. So you have these automatic thoughts about the event, and then this results into an emotion. Let's say that you might feel hurt, you might feel angry, and then you might actually start an argument or a fight with your friend. You may also have physiological arousal, which is, your blood pressure shoots up, your muscles tighten up, and so on. So a antecedent event, something happens, like the friend does not wave back. You think that they deliberately ignored you. This leads to hurt, anger, and then physiological reactions like sleeplessness and so on. And then you pick up an argument with the friend. Now, fortunately, you go to a CBT therapist and they ask you what was going through your head at that time. And then you mentioned that, I thought to myself that the friend deliberately ignored me. And then the therapist asks you, I understand that, when you think like this, you might feel very disturbed or you feel very hurt. Could there be other reasons why the friend did not wave back at you? And then you start thinking, yes, it was Monday morning, it was 9 o'clock. And then, later I came to know that my friend was actually had a very important meeting to attend, and they were just coordinating with someone on the phone. So they just didn't notice me. And when you think like this, that there is a different reason for what happened, how do you feel? And the client says that, I feel different now. I don't feel angry. However, I feel less hurt and angry now. So thinking differently about the same event can lead to different feelings. This is the basis of cognitive therapy, or CBT as we call it. So when you start thinking differently about something, you will feel differently. Now, this is a very oversimplified model that I have told you about cognitive behavior therapy. And there is a slightly different model of what we call as REBT. It's called the generic cognitive model. Now, the difference in CBT and REBT here is that in cognitive therapy, everything that happens in the head, all kinds of thoughts and cognitions are put in the B section. In REBT, we don't do this. We put the inferences. For instance, the friend ignored me. The friend is deliberately ignoring me. They think I am stupid. They don't like me. All such assumptions are kept in the A because they can come true sometimes, right? So anything that is a real possibility or a verified event is everything is put in the A section. Only rational and irrational beliefs, only rational and irrational beliefs are put in the B section. So this is the specific cognitive model of REBT. The original one, this is the original model of REBT, I would say. So situation and inferences both are kept in the A section. Only beliefs are kept in the B section, and the C remains the same, which is your cognitions, your emotions, your behaviors, and your action tendencies and the physiological arousal. Everything as a reaction is kept in the C section, which is consequences. So the difference in CBT and REBT is the model of ABC is slightly different. In cognitive therapy, everything that happens in the head is put in the B section. And in REBT, not everything that happens in the head is put in the B section. We divide those inferences into A, and only the beliefs, the 4 beliefs that we have, they are kept in the B section, right? You will learn slightly more when I demonstrate the session, and I'll demonstrate on the same client doing CT, cognitive therapy, and the same client with REBT. So you will see a stark difference in both these therapies. However, the interesting part is that both these therapies are 95% similar. This is what Albert Ellis, the founder of, the grandfather of cognitive behavioral therapies, says. So when we talk about thoughts or cognitions, there are different levels of cognitions. The most important and foremost is the automatic thoughts. These are easily available for your awareness. They are easily available to the awareness, which means that anything that's going through your mind right now. For instance, somebody is cooking food in my house right now. What can I smell right now? Oh, it's Sunday, and I have been invited for a party this evening. What if my brother goes for a bath? Then I won't be able to have a bath now because he sits in the bathroom for 2 hours. Now, we have such automatic thoughts going in our heads right now, even when there is a presentation going on. And these are automatic thoughts. They're not motivated thoughts. But if I ask you, think about one event when you were very angry last time. Now, what's going through your mind is not an automatic thought. This is a motivated thought. I am asking you specific things. Or, just count the number of breaths you are taking right now. Focus on your breathing right now. See, your focus shifted, right? Your focus shifted from my voice to breathing. Now, this is an automatic thought that has shifted. So we have a motivated thought, slightly different. However, whenever we ask for a specific event, we ask for the memory of automatic thoughts somebody had during that time. A deeper level of cognition are assumptions. They are if and then assumptions. For example, an assumption like if I am loved, then I am a lovable person. If I'm not loved, then I am not a lovable person. If I succeed, then I'm a competent person. If I don't succeed, then I'm an incompetent person. And the deepest levels of cognition are core beliefs or unconditional assumptions or core beliefs. These are across all the situations. For instance, I may have a core belief that I'm incompetent, which leads to an assumption that if I fail, I'm incompetent. If I succeed, then I'm competent. Now, this is what we see as the core beliefs influence your assumptions. and these influence your automatic thoughts. So let me demonstrate a quick example of this. Let us say that there are two people who are being interviewed, right? So the first person is waiting in the interview hall, and it's been a long time that uh, the next interview is going on. The second person is also waiting at the same time. So they both are waiting at the same time. The first person has this belief that I am incompetent, right? And the second person has a belief that they are unlovable. They're not incompetent, but they are unattractive, they are unlovable, right? Now, the conditional assumptions of the first person would be, if I perform well, then it means I am competent. And okay. Okay, so if I I perform well, then I'm competent. If I don't perform well, then I'm incompetent. However, the second person's assumptions would be, if they like me, if they like my appearance, then I'm lovable. If they don't like my appearance, then I'm unlovable. So the first person is preoccupied with checking their file and their degrees and recommendation letters, and the second person is getting back to the mirror and probably checking their lipstick or probably hair or their necktie, depending on the gender. So do you see the automatic thoughts of first person is that they're not gonna like me as a professional, and they're not going to like me as an individual. I won't be desirable. This changes depending on the core beliefs. And therefore we say that the automatic thoughts in every situation come from, or largely come from, your core beliefs. Right. Okay, this is good news that whatever you think in situations is largely dependent on your core beliefs. And this is how we also explore what core beliefs people have. Now, how do I get rid of these annotations? I can't erase this. Anyway. So let's quickly revise that core beliefs are core beliefs influence intermediate beliefs, and they influence automatic thoughts. This is a quick summary of cognitive behavior therapy, both cognitive behavior therapies, CBT and REBT. Core beliefs are slightly different in REBT, but we're not going to get there. Now, there is another difference in CBT and REBT, which has to do with emotions, the feelings. In cognitive behavior therapy, we aim at reducing the intensity of negative emotions. So, say, for instance, the therapist might ask, how intensely did you feel the anger at that time, right? But in REBT, we would say that, was the anger healthy or unhealthy? So in cognitive therapy, we would be reducing the intensity of anger. And in REBT, we would suggest that instead of unhealthy anger, would you like to feel healthy anger next time? Right. So there is a difference in emotions in cognitive therapy and REBT. So we'll look at the broad categories of emotions in REBT. They are healthy and unhealthy negative emotions. We don't talk much about positive emotions here, but they could be also healthy and unhealthy positive emotions. Can someone give me an example of an unhealthy positive emotion? That would be nice to hear. In the chat box itself, can someone type unhealthy positive emotions? Have you ever felt unhealthy positive emotions? Have you seen someone have an unhealthy positive emotion? Just one example and we're good to go. I just want to keep you awake. Unhealthy positive emotions. Proud. Okay, right? That could be unhealthy positive emotion. You know what? I'm the greatest CBT therapist in the world and nobody can beat me. What does it sound like? You are no good. I am the best one. This sounds like, I'm not going to fail in the exam. I have learned everything and I will be able to score 100% marks. Narcissism, excellent, right? Narcissism is an unhealthy positive emotion. Overconfidence is an unhealthy positive emotion. Again, unhealthy positive emotions. You know what? I will reach there on time. So let me relax for a bit. I will exercise tomorrow morning. So let me have this pastry today. These are unhealthy positive emotions. We don't even realize that, right? I will compensate it with my exercise. So let me have some food now. So these unhealthy positive emotions can also be a target to change. However, we largely look at unhealthy negative emotions. The set is unhealthy anger. The counterpart of unhealthy anger is annoyance or healthy anger. For depression, the healthy substitute would be sadness. For anxiety, the healthy substitute would be concern. Unhealthy jealousy, healthy jealousy. Unhealthy envy, healthy envy. Guilt. Some people have written regret, but I personally think that responsibility is a better substitute to regret, right? Instead of feeling guilty, I would like to feel responsible and not guilty. For shame, it's disappointment with self, and for hurt, it's disappointment with others. If we had all the time, I would have narrated the scripts of these emotions, healthy and unhealthy. However, in this orientation, I'm only going to tell that in REBT, we focus on healthy and unhealthy negative emotions. So we try to shift the client from unhealthy to healthy negative emotions next time when the same or similar adversity happens, right? In cognitive therapy, we look at what we call as cognitive distortions. Can someone tell me what is a cognitive distortion? Anyone has an idea of what cognitive distortion is? You guys must be thinking what a boring lecturer I am. I actually gave you one example of cognitive distortion. You guys must be thinking what a boring lecturer I am. Overgeneralization, labeling, these are examples of cognitive distortions. How do we define them? That's correct answer. Misinterpretation, Mehak, thank you, Liz. Labeling, Navratniya, overgeneralization. These are cognitive distortions. Um, Anyone can tell me how do we define cognitive distortions? Jumping to conclusions, excellent. You guys are pretty well read. Negative thoughts, disturbances. Distortion is an altered version of reality. Any distortion is an altered version of reality. See, the human brain is not very well evolved yet. Maybe 50 million years from now, we would not have cognitive distortions. We would think accurately. As a matter of fact, the computers don't have cognitive distortions. They have pretty accurate thinking. It's very evidence-based, right? So the computers don't have cognitive distortions. We have cognitive distortions. That means that our thinking is flawed, right? Um, Excellent, Nikhil. Habitual ways of thinking that are often inaccurate and negatively biased. So we do not necessarily think in a way which is accurate. And that is why we have specific types of distortions. And the basis of cognitive therapy is one statement. Just because you think something does not necessarily mean it's true. It can be true, but it is not necessarily true always. This is first assumption. And when you're very, very, very upset, when you are extremely distressed and upset, the chances that you will have a cognitive distortion are very high, which means that your thinking may be biased or inaccurate, right? And this connection was discovered by Albert Ellis and Aaron Beck, that when people have extreme emotional upset, their thinking is largely inaccurate. Wow, that's an amazing discovery. So if you are extremely angry, you can say that, when I'm very, very angry, my thinking is definitely not accurate. So I don't have to trust all my thoughts. So for instance, if someone has misbehaved, let's say that your maid did not turn up and she did not inform you, right? And you I think so. So you might be very, very angry. And that time, you may have thoughts that are inaccurate. For instance, the maid is irresponsible. She deliberately does this to trouble me. She wants to take revenge. She's an irresponsible person, and so on. So such thoughts may be inaccurate. And it's extremely likely that they are inaccurate. Someone gave me an example. I'm so sorry, I lost the connection. And if you are extremely upset at this point in time, maybe your thinking has distortions, right? I'm really sorry for losing the connection. All right, so let me get back to the presentation again. We say that when we are extremely upset, the chances that you have a biased thinking or inaccurate thinking are extremely high. In other words, if we fix this disordered thinking, if we have more accurate thinking, if by some means you are able to shift back to accurate thinking, your emotional upset would reduce. Isn't this interesting to know that when our thinking is accurate, we are less upset. So if you are very upset, your thinking is not accurate. All right. So I think this is very good because if you are very upset, not necessarily mean that the situation is really bad. But if you're feeling very, very distressed, if you're very upset, you can safely say that the my thinking is disordered. I remember once, I felt so depressed that I felt like killing myself. And I was a trained therapist by that time. And then I just simply told myself that if I am feeling so depressed, then definitely my thinking is screwed up. I have to think what I'm thinking. So I went out of the house, I started driving, and within 3 minutes, I could identify what am I thinking that is making me so depressed. And I could find out that I was calling myself as incompetent father for my daughter or son. I don't know what happened, but I don't remember the context. But I remember that I could find out my disordered thinking. I took a U-turn, came back home. I was like, okay, fine. Now I found out what I was thinking that made me so depressed. So initially, my focus was on the situation that, I failed or something like that. And then I shifted to my thinking that I am thinking this way that is making me so depressed. This is a great relief to take emotional responsibility. And then, we stop blaming other people or persons for our emotional upset. However, we do say that they contribute to the emotional upset, but don't cause them. When we look at the deepest core beliefs, Okay, Anita, you have a question. I'm definitely going to answer this question. Let me finish this small talk about core beliefs, and I'm going to come back to that's an extremely important question. So when we look at core beliefs, cognitive therapy has three types of core beliefs listed. One is helpless core beliefs. In helpless core beliefs, people think negatively about their competence. For instance, I'm incompetent, I am a loser, I am a failure, I will never be able to do things well. I'm good for nothing. I'm not up to the mark. These are helpless core beliefs. Now, that has to do with your competence, skill, knowledge, ability to do something. Unlovable core beliefs, on the other hand, are slightly different from these helpless core beliefs. In unlovable core belief, it is about desirability. It's not about your competence, but desirability. So I'm not beautiful. I'm not handsome. I'm ugly. I am undesirable, I am unlovable. These are the beliefs that fall under this category. And the third category is worthless core belief. In worthless core belief, they have nothing to do with the competence or desirability. It is about an intrinsic essence of you as a worthwhile, worthless person. So these people think there is something intrinsically negative about me. I lack value. I I am useless. I am worthless. I am a burden on other people. I am toxic. I am a tissue paper. I am a waste paper basket, and so on. So they basically have a sense of worthlessness, that they have no value, but that has nothing to do with their competence or looks. They may simply say that I have no value. Now, interestingly, we all have these three core beliefs. Everyone has these three core beliefs. You, I, everyone. Maybe, Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi, Joe Biden. Everyone has this core belief. Everyone. Remember, everyone. However, the level of adversity at which these core beliefs get activated means that they are generally dormant. The level of which they get activated is different for everyone, right? For instance, I may get nervous and have the core belief I'm incompetent, get activated in front of, let us say, a crowd of 1,000 people who are intellectuals, but definitely not with the crowd of 50 people who are, who could be in a webinar. So my threshold would be 1,000 people. And let's say the defense minister of India would probably never have this core belief activated, even if there are, 100 hostile, I would say, parliamentarians shouting against them. They may still not get activated with this. But if another country, probably attacks them, this belief can get activated. So do you see that the level of adversity at which these beliefs get activated also determine your functionality? So, if your comfort zone is small, which means that at small levels of adversity, these beliefs get activated. Someone does not respond to your WhatsApp message and you see two blue ticks and you feel so hurt. Now, this is one level of adversity or two level of adversity. And someone, if you're on the stage and someone says that it's all over now, our relationship is over, and they still say thank you for your time with me, and they still don't get activated, right? So my point is, the levels of adversities at which these core beliefs get activated decide your overall functionality. In other words, if you are low functioning, can something be done to raise this threshold? Can we train you into deactivating the core belief once it is activated? What do you think? Which of these can work? Deactivating the core belief once it's activated, one, or increasing the threshold at which this belief gets activated. Which of these two will work? Or the third one, that modifying the core belief completely, like change the core belief. What do you think? What interventions might work? Threshold. Lassa, that's a good input. Anyone else wants to give any other input? Raising the threshold, modify the core beliefs. Excellent. or learning to deactivate the core belief? Anyone wants to say that? The answer is all three. The answer is all three. We have a variety of techniques in cognitive behavior therapy and rational emotive behavior therapy that help you not only modify the inferences, but also the core beliefs, increase the threshold at which they get activated. And in the event that they do get activated, train you into deactivating them. So, a variety of techniques can be learned by the therapist and can be taught to the client, that help you change the way you feel, change the way you act, and change the way you think. All these three. Now, wrapping it up, we say that not that thoughts cause a disorder. However, whenever there is a disorder, a psychological or a psychiatric disorder, there is certainly a disorder of thought that needs to be corrected, right? And if you correct this disorder of thought or the cognitive distortions or the core beliefs, does not matter what kind of disorder of thought you are treating, you will definitely reduce the emotional distress or the emotions, distressing emotions, or the dysfunctional behaviors, or the symptoms of that specific disorder. So, repairing or modifying thinking is what we are aiming at first. And one of the things that therapists need to know that the client must be aware of their own thinking. So making the client aware about their own thinking is crucial, in fact, in cognitive behavior therapies. Therapy is unlikely to be effective without the client thinking about their own thinking. For example, me up from the airport, very hurt. My significant person did not pick me up from the airport, and I'm very hurt. So, I might keep thinking that, they did not pick me up, they did not pick me up, they did not pick me up, and they should have picked me up. They don't love me, and I'm not lovable. And I might continue to feel hurt if I think this way. One of the major things that a CBT therapist would do to me is to help me observe my thinking. Then I will start thinking, hey, what am I thinking that's making me so hurt? Okay, the person did not pick me up, that's verifiable. But I am thinking that I am not lovable enough, I am not good enough, and therefore they didn't pick me up. Hey, this is really not true. If the person didn't pick me up, there could be other reasons, but definitely does not mean I am unlovable. So if I start thinking about my thinking, I am more likely to change my thinking. In fact, if I don't think about my thinking at all, I am unlikely to change my thinking. So this is a very, very important assumption of cognitive behavior therapies. I also want to announce that we're going to start a batch of level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 extended training in cognitive behavior therapy and REBT, and that's going to be online. We have had, I would say, tens of such batches. Like we have 15-day training, 30-day training, and 3 months and 6 months trainings, where the therapists specifically, the level 1 is open to all. However, the level 2 and onwards are designed specifically for people who want to treat disorders. Adults, patch, and it's pretty flexible. It's online, and all the details are on the website. Okay, so I'm going to get back to the question. Someone had a question. How do we think accurately and control emotions? First of all, we need to think about what am I thinking right now. So the therapist would help the client to, first of all, identify their thinking, what they were thinking during an adversity. Then check if this thinking is accurate or no. If there were other people, there are a variety of techniques where we check the way in which our thinking is accurate. Sometimes The thinking is accurate but not helpful. Now, let me give you one example. I have to clean up my cupboard, but I am not in the mood. So my therapist asks me, hey, you wanted to clean your cupboard, right? You wanted to wash your clothes. What were you thinking that made you avoid the cleaning? It's like, I thought to myself that I am very tired right now. Strictly speaking, this thinking is accurate, right? I am so tired now. But it's not helpful. So a more helpful thinking would be, even if I am tired, I might simply start doing something so that I can finish it off in bits and pieces. So it's not just accurate thinking, but also helpful thinking that we encourage. Number one. Second, we don't control emotions. Controlling emotions would be like, I have the remote of this air conditioner. I can control on, off. We do not control emotions. Now, we regulate emotions. Now, how is this regulation different from control? Control is on and off, right? However, regulation is like, let's say that you are frying pakoras. Do you ever eat pakoras or probably samosas? Let's say that you're frying something. If you fry them on a very high flame, they would get burnt. And if you fry them on a very low flame, they'll probably stay uncooked and raw. So you regulate the temperature of the oil, every 5 minutes you dip your hand into the pan and see how hot the oil is, right? That's correct. So you regulate the temperature of the oil by regulating the flame. In a similar way, we can regulate our emotions, but not control them. And if you do not have evidence of what we are thinking is inaccurate, yes, many times we don't have evidence that our thinking is accurate. So we may want to switch to helpful thinking. Okay, so we have one question. Okay, so the question is, you cannot be CBT practitioner. I mean, like, you do not carry that label of CBT practitioner after this course. So people who are already practitioners, they can say that they are trained in CBT. However, CBT practitioner is something that probably even Beck Institute cannot give you unless you are a supervisor or something, or accredited or a member of the Cognitive Behavior Therapy Academy or something. So this is a skills training program. This is not something that allows you to call yourself as a CBT practitioner, but you can change it. Like, I'm a practitioner trained in CBT. That's a good. Of course, you can practice CBT after the course. You can practice CBT even before the course, right? If you are MA or MSc psychology, or if you're a postgraduate in mental health, even medical professionals can practice CBT. Nobody can stop you if you have a license of medicine or therapy, or psychotherapy or psychology. Nobody can stop you. Even MSWs or trained nurses can practice CBT. However, calling yourself as a CBT therapist after the course is not recommended. It's not accurate. Anyone has any questions? Okay, I'm open to questions now. Then we will shift to a quick demonstration of CBT and REBT. So I'm open to questions right now. Anyone has any questions? And after this, we'll start.
So I just have a question. When a client comes and narrates their story or comes and talks about their emotional distress, whatever they're going through, sir, we empathize with them, and then we later on ask them, what thoughts are going up in your mind? Can you tell me? So they refuse to say what thoughts. They keep repeating. I felt angry. I felt disappointed. I felt like this. Those are the things they repeat, but they don't say what actually the thoughts were going on during, like what thoughts are going on. They say, no, I don't have any thoughts. So how do you respond to such a
now when clients have this? Yeah. So when clients have such difficulties, it's primarily because they are not aware, they are not in touch with their thoughts. Guided, I would say, guided imagery is one technique where you could take them to the same event and then they become aware of the thoughts. Now, instead of thoughts, they may have images. So you could ask specific questions. For example, if the client was angry, then you may ask questions like, what were you demanding in the same situation that made you so angry, right? And if they have, let's say, anxiety, you may ask, what were you predicting in that situation that made you anxious, right? Now, there are a variety of techniques where they will be able to get in touch with their own thoughts. Say, for instance, you could model that, if I was in your situation and if I was angry, I might think that what an irresponsible person this is. Most people who feel hurt in such situations think that they have been let down by the other person, right? So we have modeling, we have guided imagery, we have so many techniques that help clients get in touch with their thoughts. If they still fail, we ask them to keep a thought diary. That next time when you get angry, you want to take a look at your thoughts. So as I said, the last slide said that unless the client understands that they were thinking during that situation and they become aware of their own thinking, it's unlikely CBT is going to work, right? So there are a variety of techniques to help client gets aware of their thinking. Okay, we have a lot of today. Please I'm so sorry, the connection is getting disconnected all the time. Um, all right, so it doesn't have to be a serious problem. It could be as trivial as someone wants to stick to their diet regime, or they want to stop binge watching on Netflix, or they got upset about a maid not coming on time, anything. I would want you to be respectful to the complaint that the volunteer presents with, right? So anyone would want to volunteer today? Could be a simple problem, doesn't have to be a complex issue. If someone does not have a problem, I can create new problems for you. Nobody has a problem? Everyone has a problem, right? It's impossible that you don't have a problem. I think you could rename yourself as, whatever. Maybe someone could rename themselves as Donald Trump and present with a problem without switching on their cameras. I don't mind. Anyone wants to present with a problem? Okay. Now, this is avoidance behavior. What's going through your head right now that's making you avoid volunteering for a session? I think I would request Ronak or, Sanskar Agrawal. These are not only my colleagues, but friends as well, to present with a very simple, a ridiculously simple problem so that we can demonstrate and help others to understand CBT and REBT better. Ronak? You let me down.
Yeah, sir, actually there is some communication or problem in my side. I don't know why there is some connection issues also occurring up here. So give me 1 minute.
Okay, I will give you 1 minute. Any questions so far? CBT and REBT.
Sir?
Yes, Anita.
Actually, I had one question, and
Sure.
I am awaiting for the answer. I'm not sure if you have answered or I missed or something. I'm not sure. Actually, I had a question
Ask
that
again.
how do we think accurately and control our emotions if we do not have the evidence of what we are thinking is inaccurate?
Right. Okay. I already answered the question. Maybe you
I
did
think because
not
of network
hear
issue
that
or
answer.
something, it was disconnected in between.
Oops. So I don't know whether
Yes.
you all heard that answer or no. So many times we may not have evidence to our thinking, and that we don't know whether thinking is accurate or no. So we switch to a different strategy, which is not just accurate thinking, but we also look at helpful thinking. I gave an example that I want to wash my clothes. However, I avoid them by thinking that I am too tired right now. Now, I am too tired right now could be accurate thinking, but it's not helping me to wash my clothes. So a more helpful thought would be, even if I'm tired, I might just start doing something, right? So this way you will be able to switch from accurate thinking um, uh, to helpful thinking. So many times we do not have any evidence that our thinking is accurate or not. So we switch to other types of thinking. Second, I told you that we do not
Thank
focus
you.
on controlling emotions, but we focus on regulating emotions. We cannot control switch on, switch off emotions, but we can change their intensity, or we could modify the way we are thinking in terms of, like, instead of unhealthy anger, we can have healthy anger. All right. Okay. So, Bronak, are you ready? Any more
Thank you,
questions?
sir.
I hope that answers your questions, Anita.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, I'm ready. So I was actually thinking
All
of
right.
about some questions in terms of like problems which we often face.
Okay.
The thing is that we have actually deal with so many people who have some uncertainties in their future. So they used to stick on so many options and they get confused more often. So I have a question to you, that how do we often think about that if we try to have so many options, that can actually increase so many opportunities as well. So this sort of thought pattern is often it becomes very unhealthy. So how do you think about it?
So do you want to role play as such a participant, or you want to present as a real problem? That would be great to demonstrate.
As a real problem, definitely.
All right. Okay. So Ronak, what problem would you like to work on in today's session? I'm going to demonstrate cognitive therapy first, and the same problem with REBT in 15 minutes. So what problem would you like to work on in today's session?
Okay, so the thing is that I have seen so many of my peer candidates who are actually very confused with their job position, job roles. So they're kind of window shopping with some of the other options as well. And at the end of the day, they're getting confused. So this is a sort
All
of
right.
a cognitive distortion. So I think that it's a problem.
So, they have a problem. What problem would you like to work on? You cannot change their thinking, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to act differently? Do you want to react differently when a similar problem happens?
The thing is that we often try to stick to several options. So how do we treat those options in a way so that we can minimize it to a way so that we can actually think that to focus on a particular thing on a particular time. So this
Now,
should be our goal.
yeah, could you give me a specific incident where you had multiple options and you did not focus on one option?
This is the example which I'm giving you. No, that I am actually thinking to give them a solution, and at the end of the day, they are making me confused, right? Because
Right.
we are
Okay. So
actually
give me
trying.
one incident when you were confused.
Okay, so
Give me one incident when you were confused.
okay, so I can give you one example where one of my candidates, he was actually asking me to suggest him about the job description. I have to read it out to him, and then I have to suggest which role will be more comfortable for him. And he has given me almost 5 JDs. Okay. So the thing is that he is making me confused because he's working in the finance domain, and at the end he's not really understanding that which is more suitable for him. So I have to do some of the psychometric tests at first. Then I can bit by bit understand about his situation, about his interest, about his motivation as well. So in this process, I think that how to manage it in terms of minimizing all these extraneous variables.
So how would you like to react differently when next time a candidate presents with such a problem?
At first, I try to make them understand, right, that which one is more suitable for you. You have to actually go through the JD at first, and then you come back to me that what do you think about it, about the positions, about the responsibilities which you may have to do. So thereby you can understand, thereby you can at least have an idea about your knowledge, about your limitations as well. Because
I understand that's a part of your job, right? You need more clarity. You want more clarity when it comes to their job profile and what they want to do, right? Yeah. My question was slightly different. How do you want to react differently next time when someone presents with a lot of data?
Okay, I actually try to be very calm and composed at the very initial moment so that they won't be able to understand that I am getting confused. So I won't.
So you don't want to be confused, right? Next time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So do you have a pen and paper?
Right now, I don't have any.
All right. Okay. So let's assume that you have a pen and paper.
Okay.
So I would ask you to write down the goal as, not getting confused when counseling a candidate. Is that correct? So I'm assuming that you also work as an HR, and then you have to kind of, select candidates based on their expertise and their job description and so on, right? However, at moments you do get confused, and then, you're not able to give them a proper solution. Is that correct, Rona?
Yes, definitely.
Hello?
Yeah, definitely.
You got frozen. Is it very cold there in Calcutta?
No. It's very hot.
Okay.
And humid.
All right. So you don't want to be confused, right? Now let's go back to one specific incident that one candidate said something to you and you got confused. Could you think of one specific incident?
Yeah, that was the most important example, but I have given to you that I had to give him 5 JDs so that they can understand about the perfect fit for their perfect job, right? Like they are actually very confused after doing MBA. How can I be able to pursue this sort of responsibilities within this particular span of time and all? So thereby I had to give him 5 JDs. And I asked him out that read it out and go through it carefully so that you will be understanding which is more suitable for you. Then you come back.
Okay, so this is what you did, right?
Yeah.
At what point you started getting confused?
When he was not able to understand the responsibilities which he may have to do in the organization.
All right. And can you go back to the same incident, and can you imagine what were your feelings? What were your emotions when he got confused? He was not clear. He was not understanding the points. And how did you feel emotionally at that time?
I was a bit tensed, if I say, and also a bit worried.
Worried, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So tensed, what do you mean by tensed? Like, is it
tensed
excited?
As,
is it angry?
No, not angry. I was kind of worried, and I was thinking about how long I can be within which time span I can be able to sort this out. Like if it takes a whole day, that can be very unprofessional, that can be very unethical from my part. So I was thinking about that.
Okay, I'm going to come back to those thoughts in a while from now. But you were worried, right?
Yeah.
On a 0 to 100, how distressing was this worry?
Out of 100. Yeah, it was around, if I read it, it was around 75.
Okay, that's a pretty distressing, right?
Yeah.
And if you were less worried, say for instance, if you were like 10, 20 worried, what difference would it make next time if similar situation happens and you're not that worried? If you are able to regulate it to 10, 20, how would that make a difference?
It can make me more composed. It can make me think about how to do it in a fast way, instead of getting tensed and instead of wasting
Okay,
my time over with this overwhelmingness and all.
I understand. So you mean to say that you would be more efficient
Yeah,
with your decisions, right?
yeah,
If you were less worried. Is that correct?
yeah. There
Okay.
won't be any
So would you like to
extraneous variable in my mind, so that I won't be preoccupied with such thoughts that will be kind of like repulsive or kind of discriminatory or
Okay. So when you are very worried, you also are preoccupied with a lot of thoughts. Is that
yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Okay. So, when you are less worried, you will have probably more clarity and you will be more efficient in the task that you have been assigned. Is that correct?
yeah.
So would you like to find out where your worry comes from?
From it stems from that thought pattern that I am not good enough, or I am not
Oh, what?
doing my work properly.
Oh, you already have a very clear understanding. Okay. Now, I would be interested in this thought when you said that I'm not doing my work properly, right?
Yeah, or
Hmm.
not efficiently.
I'm not doing my work efficiently, right? And then I should be, right?
Yeah,
Okay, right. So the A antecedent event is that the candidate was getting confused. The B thought is that I'm not doing my work efficiently, and if we draw a small downward arrow here, it means that I should be doing. And you also mentioned another thought that I am not good enough, right?
yeah.
Hmm. And then the C reaction, like you got worried, which is around 75% worried. And then what did you do after being so worried?
It took actually it got me more confused about how to understand the JD by myself, because I had to describe it to him later on. And
You got
then
confused,
after yeah, I
right?
got confused. And then what happened, I had to search it from Google. I had to take help from my colleagues. And after that, after half an hour to 1 hour, I got understand that how to do it, stay like I have to follow one algorithm, so that I can be able to fully describe it on my own, and it can be very clear to him.
I like those words, on my own.
Yeah.
On a 0 to 10 or 0 to 100 scale, how responsible did you feel about helping him get a clarity? On a
Mm,
0 to 100, how responsible were you to get this?
around, I will rate it around 65 out of 100.
Hmm. So you took almost 65% responsibility of helping him,
Yeah.
or ideally it should have been, he helps himself, he gets
Mhm,
clarity, you can only
mhm,
assist him. At
mhm.
that point, when you were so confused, how much sense of responsibility did you have towards helping him?
It actually stemmed from that insecurity that I have to do my work in a more efficient way. I have to be more professional. I have to be more responsible for my candidates. And this sort of thought patterns actually made me feel that I should at least try on my own for some time. Then I can try,
Hmm.
and then I can go through and move forward.
Mhm. Right. I am fully responsible for my candidates.
Kind of. That sort of thought pattern actually came over me.
At that time, right? I would have requested you to write down if you had a pen and paper. So I'm fully responsible for my candidates well-being or clarity, and I'm not doing my work properly. And out of these two thoughts, I'm not doing my work properly, professionally, ethically, efficiently, and I'm fully responsible for their well-being. Which of these thoughts was more responsible for your worry?
About the professional and ethical part, that was actually more worrying.
That I am not being?
Yeah, I don't have that much professionalism in my work, and it lacks ethics. That's what I thought in a most
Okay, right.
important way, other than
Yeah.
the
So
other automatic.
this thought made you worry, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you realize that this thought makes you worried?
Yes, I thought it that way
Okay,
later on. Like when I could
later on,
actually
right?
understand that which thought patterns actually came over my mind
Oh,
and
wow.
which was more predominant than the others.
Oh, wonderful. So you're already aware that your thinking contributes to your worry, right? And now, really, if we say that if we had a client who is not trained in CBT, they would not be aware of their own thoughts. I would probably have to make them aware that this kind of thoughts make you worried. Now, would you like to check these thoughts if they're accurate or not accurate?
Honestly, I have never tried it that way.
Now, would you like to check now? If there were 20 neutral observers, right, who watched the CCTV footage of you trying to help this guy, right? How many of would they say that you are being unethical and irresponsible?
I thought that almost 10 of them would be like backing up me, and 10 would be like bitching behind me.
No, I'm saying 20 neutral observers,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Now, let's say that uh, people who don't know you and they have been given this task, let's say psychology students, and then how many of would they say that you are being unethical and unprofessional? I don't know what the second word was. Unethical and
Professional.
unprofessional. Okay, how many of would they agree that this was unprofessional and unethical?
Almost 5% of them would be, I thought.
Right. Okay. So do you realize that um, your thinking could be biased?
Yeah, it could be biased.
What is another way of thinking about your behavior there? That you were not giving him full clarity, and you assumed that it means it's unethical and unprofessional. What is another way to think about this? If your goal is to feel less worried, not zero worried, but less worried.
I could have thought that it instead of thinking this way, I could be more neutral in terms of judging myself. That I like thinking in a way that I have also opportunity to improve my skills, so that this is the moment or this is the incident that is helping me out. So instead of thinking in
No, no,
a
no, I'm talking about your behavior, that
okay,
you
okay,
failed to give him clarity. This was the trigger, right? And then you thought that this is unethical and unprofessional. I only want to focus on this thought. Instead of thinking that this is unethical and unprofessional of me, what would you have thought?
instead of this, I could have thought that it's not my full responsibility. First of all, then I should be more aware of the candidates' backstory before like judging them or before selecting them, so that my work will be more easier.
All
That I
right.
could
Okay.
do.
So I got two points here. Number one, initially you probably had what I suspected is inflated sense of responsibility of helping the client, right? So you probably have a more accurate sense of responsibility of helping the client. Number one. Number two, that instead of thinking that I am being unprofessional and unethical, you might want to think that I am ill-informed, right? Rather than unethical and unprofessional. Is this what you are trying to say?
Ill informed or half information is in front of me and
Half
half I
informed, right? You're not fully informed.
Fully
right?
informed.
It's not I'm being unprofessional, but I need to gather more data about them before I start counseling them. Is it correct?
Yeah, definitely.
So which of these two thoughts helps you reduce your worry? Having an accurate sense of responsibility, number one, not inflated or not decreased. And second one is uh, thinking that I am not being unprofessional. However, I need to gather more data about them. Which one reduces your anxiety more?
The second one.
Second one, I
Yeah.
need to gather more data and I'm not being unprofessional, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So this is something that I would want you to write down. And next time you interview someone, you might want to think differently about this. That am I really being unprofessional, or I'm just uninformed or partially informed?
Partially informed. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now we don't have time for REBT to start all over. So I'm just going to switch from here to REBT, right? Now the rest of the things are similar. However, in REBT, we simply do slightly different things. I go one step ahead. So let's assume, Ronak, that you were acting unprofessionally and unethically. Let's assume worst case scenario. What would that mean about you?
Initially, I would think that I am an escapist, that I am always trying to escape from the situation, from the challenges which I have to face. And the second thing, I will think that instead of like judging my own capabilities, I'm putting blame on others, especially on my candidate. And that is how I'm trying to get rid of it.
No, let's assume that you definitely are doing this. Let's assume worst case scenario, if you did this, what would that mean about you?
About my own like responsibility, it would
What kind of
like,
a person are you?
first irresponsible, second escapist, and third it will be like you are incapable, what I would thought.
Okay, so you're incapable. I think this falls under the category of I'm incompetent, right? I'm incompetent, irresponsible in some way. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you think that this thought, this belief that you are incompetent has something to do with your anxiety?
Some way or the other.
Now, would you like to check this thought that you are incompetent for acting incompetently?
This is a bit tricky question, I would say.
Would you like to check this thought?
Yeah,
How
definitely.
much are you convinced of this thought right now, that you are incompetent if you act incompetently?
I'm not fully convinced, to be honest.
Now you're not fully convinced, but when you were anxious, how convinced were you at that time?
Yeah, then so many of negative thoughts would come over our mind, and that will actually trying to mess up with everything, and kind of it will hamper.
So do you see that, your conviction also changes with time? At different points in time, your conviction is different. And do your feelings also change about the past event? Like, that time you were thinking you're incompetent. Now you don't think you're incompetent.
Yeah, it changes from time to time, and it changes from the incident, from the event, from the context, and from also the surroundings.
So even if similar context happens again, if you were to ask yourself this question next time, that, worst case, I do act incompetently, worst case, right? How does that mean I am incompetent?
No, it's completely.
If there was a friend in the same situation, if there was a friend in the same situation who acted incompetently, worst case, would you call him incompetent?
No, never.
What would you call him?
I would call him that you should try your level best, so that this sort
of... What does it make him? He is not an incompetent person, then he is what?
He's trying his level best. He's coping up with the situation, and as well he's adjusting with all these nuisance.
So he's a gorilla, or what? Well, he's what?
He's a human being.
He's a human being. That makes sense, right? And can you call yourself the same thing? If you act incompetently, it only means you're human. I'm not saying acting incompetently is okay. I'm saying that, acting incompetently only makes you human.
Yeah, because understanding and accepting the mistakes, it will actually help us to rectify to some extent.
Absolutely. Right. I think so. Because you would be less upset. And you
Mhm.
mentioned that when you are less upset, you have more clarity about what strategies to use.
Yeah.
And thinking that I am human and it's not okay to act incompetently would help you actually fix the problem better, because you would be concerned and anxious about the task. Make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right. So what did you learn in today's session?
Today's session, how to modify and how to regulate our emotions and also our thought patterns in terms of coping with some stressful, with some negative, with some very crucial events in our life.
All right. Okay, fine. Thank you so much. I would have taken a more accurate and detailed feedback of the session if this was a 45-minute session. But thanks, Ronak, for volunteering for this session. And it's been really helpful to help me demonstrate CBT and REBT. All right. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. And do you have any questions on the session? And if you have any inputs, what did you learn during the session? I would be happy to hear them. All right. Okay. So we do not seem to have any questions. I have put the link of the specific trainings. You can also follow on this Morphic Minds is our Instagram page, and you could also follow me on Shishir Palsapure, which is my personal Facebook and Instagram page. But Morphic Minds is something that you could follow on Instagram and Facebook as well. Check out the trainings. We have a very competent team, Rohan and Yogita. They are also my co-trainers. I supervise, I train, and these people also train. So I would like to see you in the upcoming trainings. And thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful Sunday ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.